This is Rating Descending,
where we watch IMDb's Worst 250 so you don't have to.
My name is Abigail Ward.
And I'm Michelle St. Clair.
And tonight we're watching a superhero movie. Orphaned high school student Rick Riker is bitten by a radioactive dragonfly, develops superpowers except for the ability to fly, and becomes a hero. Let's watch. We just had a 5-day lockdown. Well, we're at the end of a 5-day lockdown.
Yeah, lifting the veil on when we record this. We just went through Melbourne's 5-day snap lockdown.
Now you guys know our schedule. We are always 2 weeks behind, so please don't judge us.
And our address is...
The time that this comes out, we're actually in the middle of a stage 4 lockdown again, but we don't know that because we've just come out of a 5-day lockdown. Anything could happen between now and then.
That's true.
The world could explode in the next 2 weeks. So just think about that.
Well, I mean, that's always true. Like when we record an episode, there is always that chance that it'll never get released. What I really want is to just keep generating content more and more and more and more so that if I die, like 20 years later, they'll be like, oh my God, we found all these records of unreleased content. And like, it'll be bad, but because it's unreleased, people will go like, wow, that's really cool. Oh,
we'll do like
tortured
an Emily
artist. Dickinson.
I've always wanted to do that. Like I'm a screenwriter and I want to be paid for my work, but I would love to just die mysteriously in a cabin. And then everyone finds my body. The smell is enormous.
The town comes across.
No, a local family find my body in the cabin. They're like, we haven't heard from her in ages. And they tap and they open it and they see my like decaying body. But they also see piles and piles of manuscripts. And as people sort through manuscripts, they're like, my God, this woman was prolific. She was a genius. She wrote so many films of so many genres. And then I get awarded Oscar after Oscar just in my death.
And I'll collect them on your behalf.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. What I'll do is, since I know when you're going to die, I'll sneak into the cabin and I'll like scratch my name. It's like, it says like, by Abigail Ward. And then I'll like handwrite ampersand Michelle St. Clair. I'll be like, yes, it was a tragedy that she's gone, but we will benefit from
It's a tragedy that she slipped and fell tragically on her own comb.
Yeah.
While you rake in the rewards. You're just friends with me for my genewies.
Yeah, well,
for my smarts.
I feel like
for my talent.
When we met, it was like, oh, you know, like, are we both really genius or are we both just hacks? And over time, we know which is which, so that's why I'm still friends with you.
You're clinging on to me for dear life.
Desperately holding on.
Look, that's not how I view our friendship. I need you to know that.
Oh, thanks.
But, you know, thanks for
That's why I'm winning.
Oh my God.
God!
I'm drinking a beer. It just forced its way out.
We had like a solid streak, I feel.
I was good. I was well behaved.
Yeah, well behaved on this podcast.
The leash that you keep me on just broke free, baby. I'm galloping. I'm gallivanting. I'm pissing on people's legs.
What's that horrid thing they give dogs, like a choke chain thing?
Like, I don't know.
They have it in that one episode of The Simpsons, and it seems barbaric.
Not a muzzle? A choke chain?
I mean, you've seen the episode of The Simpsons where they're training Santa's little helper, and then they give him the one where it really is just like a chain that when they pull on it, it chokes the dog more rather than pulling at their neck.
Oh, I didn't know that. I know that like with a normal collar, right? It is really just a ring around your neck, and if you pull on it too hard, it's bad for a dog, which is why people put their dogs in harnesses. Yeah. So you keeping me in a collar or a harness?
Collar.
That's hot. That's hot.
I feel like people don't use critical thinking about how bodies work when they think about animals. Like the idea, it's like, yeah, you yank on the collar, it hurts the dog. And some people go, oh, it's like, if you were wearing a collar, would you think that action would be uncomfortable?
Yeah, but there's genuinely just people out there in the world that don't think of animals as equal to us, and that's fucked.
That's my problem.
Honestly,
that's
like,
what I'm saying.
When I watch movies, I get more upset when animals get hurt than humans, because I feel like humans...
Deserve it?
Oh, look, that's what I wanted to say, but I didn't. Humans, we're able to communicate with each other and we're able to find our place in the world. Animals are often helpless and and are forced into a life that we force upon them.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that we can't communicate with animals verbally fucks me up. Like, I think I cry over animals a lot because I can't actually communicate words to them. Like, I think about the fact that I have 2 cats and never in my time with them will they be able to hear the words I love you and understand them. That fucks me up. I have so much love to give and they'll never know.
You've watched me on sad days whilst cuddling our cat Casserole, staring deeply into her eyes whilst I say to you, I love her so much and she loves me. And even though we can't use words, like, we know that about each other.
And that's really special. I feel like with our other cat, B, she's so aloof. I just want to hold her and just be like, I want you to know that I love you. Because I'm sure she does know. But I need her to hear it.
If she was a person, she'd be the kind of girl like, yeah, I know you love me. Come on. Like,
she gets that from me. What can I say?
Whereas Casserole's like, you love me? And she gets that from me.
I remember when I watched fucking Van Helsing when that came out in, 2005? Is that
on this list?
I don't think it should be. But it should be. But when I watched that in cinema, there was a scene where, like, everyone in Paris was getting washed away by these tidal floods.
Yeah.
Like, you watch, like, families and children getting swept away. But then there was this one shot of a cow getting drowned and I bawled my eyes out. I never stopped thinking about it. I was like, that cow didn't deserve shit. Those kids, however, you know, greedy little fucks. But that cow, heavenly. Did you know that cows will have a best friend? And if they get split up from their best friend, they will cry and mourn their best friend until they're back with their best friend.
Every time we do a study that's like, turns out animal has feelings. And it's like, yeah, man, come on. Have you not interacted with them ever?
As more science, you know, general science comes out, because I love science.
Yeah.
It's just like more and more news reports about how they've noticed this thing about animals and how they have like this sensibility, or they don't like this, or they get upset over that. And it's just like, yeah, sentience. They're creatures that love and feel things the same way we do. Anyway, for tonight we're going to be eating chicken tacos.
Oh my God.
Beef fajitas.
No. It's similar to me of the concept that, like, in recent years, modern psychology keeps going, yeah, we've actually discovered that the human brain needs these things and psychologically we feel these things. And then we find out immediately that it's actually exactly the same as how we thought the human was 5,000 years ago in China and India and Central America.
There's definitely a disconnect for me as well, like and a hypocrisy in that, like, I know these things and I cry over a cow getting swept away in Van Helsing, but I do still eat meat because I'm weak. I don't eat meat that often, but I still eat meat. It's not like a central part of my diet. Most of the time I only buy food that's vegetarian for the house.
Yeah.
But on the occasion I will buy and eat meat.
Yeah.
And I feel bad about that.
I get that. I mean, I eat a lot less meat than you do. I still consider myself vegetarian, but it's sometimes, I don't know, there's times where you're really stressed and like decision making becomes difficult. And it becomes about, like, for me, prioritizing, what's the word? Like, prioritizing where I'm spending my mental energy. And my mental energy sometimes is spent more towards getting and eating food than what the food is. You know what I mean?
Fair. Mental energy. I have none of that. That doesn't exist for me. Mental who?
Energy.
Thinking what? I don't. You know when you've got thoughts going on?
No.
Exactly. Cut them out. Not good for you.
Get rid of it.
You want to be happy? Live like me.
I'm kidding. Sometimes I meet someone and they're like, yeah, I wasn't really thinking about much. I'm like, how are you not thinking at 110% all the time?
Yeah, but you and I are massively neurotic people.
Yeah.
We struggle to turn our brains off.
Yeah, I watch Seinfeld and I'm like, relatable. That's how neurotic I am.
Yeah, you walk through every door being like, you're not going to believe it, Jerry.
Wave my hand.
Way up here.
Yeah. But now we lock doors more, so I tend to run into the doors. I do burst into your room a lot, though.
You do. No, but you do it in an awkward, sweet way where you're like, hello. You don't come in aggressive.
Yeah.
Speaking of aggressive,
hey,
my feelings towards this movie this week are very in line with that.
Nice.
Thank you so much. All right, that's me done.
Hey,
all right, you guys have a good rest of the episode.
She's graduated.
Goodbye. This week we watched Superhero Movie.
It's the first of the parody movies on this list.
There's so many of them on the list.
Well, wait. It's the first of the movies, but Meet the Blacks is the first parody movie on the list.
Yeah, but this is definitely like the first in the streak of notable, like,
the Zucker produced ones.
Blank movie ones. Yeah, Zucker, the movies that had Zucker's hands all over it.
Yeah.
I'm annoyed by these genre of films because they're made to be bad. So it's like, what can we really critique here? Because it's not like they endeavored to make a great film. They endeavored to make a dumb comedy satire, which they knew wouldn't have good critical reviews, but would make a lot of money. And that's exactly what they did. Well, so it's frustrating from my point of view because I want to watch bad movies and be like, this was dumb. They were trying so hard and it failed and it flopped in this way and that way. But this, it's like, yeah, they knew it would be shit.
Well, I feel like a lot of the time the intention that they're going in with these parody movies, that is why we can still critique them, right? Because you're right in that they're not trying to make a good movie, but they usually are trying to do two things. One, say that the original movie is dumb, and two, be funny, and it really, I don't think, succeeds at either of those. So I think this counts.
I will say off the bat, I loved the Scary Movies as a kid. I loved Scary Movie 1. I loved Scary Movie 2. I loved Scary Movie 3. I can keep going. Actually, after the fourth one, it really just petered off for me.
Including the fourth one.
Yeah. But I did love Scary Movie, and every time it came on as a kid, I thought it was super exciting. This was in no way nearly as good to me as Scary Movie is. I think Scary Movie lands a lot of jokes. I think it does. The first one.
Our specific age bracket really, really loves the Scary Movies. And I don't know why, as someone who didn't watch them until a little later, because when I was younger, my mum watched the first one and I thought it was too scary because I'm a little baby.
But I genuinely think that the first Scary Movie is miles better than this. It's not like they're on the same level. I actually think that the first Scary Movie really nailed a lot of jokes.
Yeah, but that's like saying I'd rather be covered in piss than shit. Like, it's
we've talked about that many times, Michelle. We don't always have to bring it back to piss and shit. All right? Keep it PG.
It's still PG.
For the children.
It's still PG. Kids, we're talking about fucking piss and shit.
No, we're talking about fucking, piss, and shit.
Yeah.
No, we're talking about urine and feces. And that's okay. They are normal parts of the body. I'm just checking now, by the way, like what Scary Movie's score is on IMDb, just to see where it does sit.
It shouldn't be above a 5. Look, that's my stand.
I swear to God, I think Scary Movie is genuinely so much better than this. 6.2 out of 10 on IMDb. It's the first Scary Movie. What's your damage with Scary Movie? You know?
I think a lot of the macro problems with the movie are exactly the same as with these ones. It's just that like 30% of the jokes land instead of 5% of the jokes land. And I don't think that's enough to qualify as a good, funny movie.
I would honestly say the landing ratio for Scary Movie is higher than 30%.
Nah.
I think it's like honestly sitting at a solid 60%.
Well, the thing is about these movies, they follow like the Mitch Hurwitz comedy style, which is good, which is basically like cram as many jokes in per frame as you can, right? But the thing is that like Mitch Hurwitz knows how to then create a punchline out of those jokes. Yeah. You know, like the stair car.
You can't bring Mitch Hurwitz into this conversation, all right?
I'm saying like...
You can't.
Why?
He's a genius.
I'm saying the stair car isn't just a visual that's weird. There's also then punchlines with it.
Arrested Development isn't on that. We're talking about the movies. We're not talking about anything Mitch Hurwitz has laid his brilliant hands on, okay? That's a different conversation.
I'm saying a lot of the time, these jokes in this and Scary Movie are just, here is a thing, and there's no like punchline. I'm just meant to laugh at the presence of that thing.
But if you're coming to a movie wanting crude, dumb humor that you think will make you laugh, Scary Movie does that. This film doesn't. And let me just say, I did look up Scary Movie reviews. Roger Ebert gave the film 3 out of 4 stars, saying it delivers the goods.
Oh my God.
He called the film a satirical attack on slasher movies.
But that's crazy to me because Scary Movie 1 is a parody of Scream. Scream is already a satire of slasher movies.
Yeah, but like it was still also genuinely a good horror. But
that's also like that.
That was made. I love. We'll have to move on because we'll just never agree on Scary Movie. It seems. Let me just launch into the overview. You absolute malignant bastard. This will be the end of us.
Scary Movie and Suddenly 30 are going to be the end of our friendship. Don't do it again.
Okay. Here's the overview. It's a little long. I actually did struggle to condense this one just because there's a lot of stuff that does need to be explained. Teenager Rick Riker lives with his Uncle Albert and Aunt Lucille. One day, Rick and his class go on a field trip to a lab run by terminally ill businessman Lou Landers. During the trip, a chemically enhanced radioactive dragonfly bites Rick. Evil Lou creates a machine designed to heal Illness. Testing it on himself, he gains perfect health at the cost of needing to drain life energy from a victim per day. Lou becomes the villain, Hourglass. Rick begins to realize that he has developed superpowers from the dragonfly bite. Rick reveals his secret to his uncle and his best friend Trey. The next day, while visiting the bank with his aunt and uncle, a robber shoots and injures Albert. Rick is later met by Xavier, who takes... And Xavier's Mr. X, right?
Yeah.
And he's like just like a Marvel person.
He's the head of the X-Men.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Love superheroes. He's later met by Xavier, who takes Rick to his school for mutants and convinces Rick to become a superhero. Rick creates a superhero costume, dubs himself Dragonfly, and becomes a media sensation despite being unable to fly. Dragonfly attempts to stop Hourglass from robbing a warehouse full of ceruleum as part of his evil plan, but fails, allowing Hourglass to escape. Later that night, Rick's crush Jill is attacked by thieves. Dragonfly saves her and they kiss. Landers and Rick realize each other's true identity over dinner. Landers kills Aunt Lucille and Albert wakes up from his coma. Jill professes her feelings for Rick, but Rick fears Hourglass will hurt her, so he rejects the advances. Landers' grand plan is to take place at an award ceremony. Rick interjects and kills Hourglass with a bomb on his dick. Jill, also present, nearly falls to her death before Rick rescues her. He finally grows wings and they fly away together. The end. Yeah.
It really is just... Like, there's like one scene that's doing Batman and there's one scene that's doing X-Men and then it's just Spider-Man 1.
Just Spider-Man.
It's just Spider-Man.
Which is disappointing. A good satire film, I want lots of references.
Yeah.
But in that Batman scene, like they use Batman's whole like history as Rick's, where he's like an orphan because his parents get shot outside of the opera in an alleyway.
Unless I'm remembering wrong, but the way it's shot and framed is specifically a scene in Tim Burton's Batman movie. Like that's what I mean. Like they're doing that specific Batman.
Probably. That's how I always thought it went, because I think they did a similar thing in Nolan's, didn't they? They shot it in a very similar way.
Yeah.
But also, his dad was played by Robert Hayes, which I'll get to later, but Robert Hayes is also very much part of the Zucker world. But yeah, it's like that reference, and like in that bit where Xavier takes him to his school of mutants, it's a bunch of different superheroes that are just there, but it doesn't impact the plot. They're just around.
No. Which, to be honest, is my biggest complaint with this movie and a lot of parody movies, right? Because my mum was a big fan of a lot of different parody movies and some of the early Zucker ones. So like she and I bonded over like Hot Shots and Airplane.
I loved Hot Shots.
Hot Shots is good.
Airplane is above all others.
Yeah.
Airplane reigns supreme.
So Top Secret we thought was funny. What I like about them, they are an original movie that is parodying a lot of other things at the same time.
Like Airplane is just parodying every disaster movie.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's still like its own movie that functions okay dramatically.
Yeah.
And I think that for me is the key differentiation between those and the subsequent movies, especially this one. Because like the plot doesn't really make sense. I don't care about it. None of the actual, like, why include emotional beats at all if you're going to give like 10% effort to it. Also, Drake Bell, who plays Rick Riker, is the worst lead. I can't
We were joking
stand
that
him.
the film was pretty much 90% his reaction shots of him being like, like just again, it was awful.
Drake Bell
sucks
does not,
as a lead.
He doesn't know how to do a good reaction shot.
Also, Drake Bell just sucks in general.
Yeah, didn't he recently rebrand himself in Mexico as a Spanish singer?
Okay, I didn't read about that. That wasn't what I was referring to.
He
but
like
that's
changed his name.
What the fuck?
He changed his name to like basically what Drake would be in Spanish or Bell would be in Spanish. Maybe it's the other way around. He changed his last name.
Why?
Who the fuck knows?
Also,
man?
like, I was just saying that because I remember back when Caitlyn Jenner came out in 2015, he made a tweet being like, sorry, you're still dead name to me.
Oh, fuck
Yeah.
you.
He literally just tweeted that. And then a couple days later, he was like, I apologize. It was like, I'm sorry that I was hurtful to this community. And it was obviously just some PA that was writing off some drivel for him.
What?
Like, yeah.
I get, like, why even apologize if you're saying like, oh, I didn't know it would be hurtful? Yes, you did. There's no other way to read that.
Caitlyn Jenner coming out was such a big moment for the trans community, despite the fact that Caitlyn Jenner is also a piece of shit in her own way. But it was also a really good time to figure out who was who around you. Because I remember at work, this guy I worked next to was just like, no, sorry, like, she'll never be a woman to me, and like using all the wrong pronouns and saying that it would never happen. I was just like, great, like, now I know to write you off. Like, cool. This is great. This is a really good filtering system.
what do you listen to Girl in Red? It's like, what do you think of Caitlyn Jenner? Once for a moment, it's like, oh, cool.
Yes. Do you listen to Girl in Red is just the secret way of asking, are you gay these days?
I saw a couple of people, though, since JoJo Siwa came out say, do you listen to JoJo Siwa?
Amazing.
Love it.
Yeah, Drake Bell's just not a good dude. I feel like there was also like allegations of him being like verbally and physically abusive to his partner of 3 years around the time this movie came out. Yeah.
Also,
I've never heard really good things about him. I've only heard questionable things.
On the note of transphobia, the second joke in this movie was a transphobic joke. It was just, I don't think that is a woman.
Yeah.
And like that was the beginning and end of the joke.
He's on a school bus and he's like talking about the girl he has a crush on, and it like pans over some girl and he's like, I don't think that is a woman because she has like slightly masculine features, but not really.
But it is a man in a wig. Like, stop putting men in wigs and then having other straight men look at them going, ooh, and then that's a joke. That's not a joke.
Transphobia and obviously sexism are just the big things that we keep running across here. There was also like a lot of homophobic jokes
There was
in this as well.
lot.
There was a lot of jokes about like how weird it would be for two men to be attracted to each other. But transphobia has been one of the most common things we've encountered.
It is, which, I mean, in some ways makes me feel good because it's like, well, we condemn these.
Yeah.
We all universally agree these are bad movies.
It gives us a chance to really prove our worth, you know, as allies. As allies. No, I support your lifestyle. Like, I don't get it, but like I wouldn't do it myself, but like I get that you have to do the things you have to do.
Man, I could never understand a lifestyle like that, but, you know, to each their own.
Let 1,000 blossoms bloom. I just love having a trans friend, you know? Like, every girl's got to have one. Sex and the City music starts playing. I walked down High Street and I got myself a bagel. You never have a bagel in the morning in autumn, but I was feeling frisky. Then I ran into my trans friend, Michelle. You're looking good today. You know, today. The music gets more intense. We keep walking faster and faster. You don't get a line of dialogue.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
I'm here to make you look good.
You're there for diversity, baby. What were we talking about?
If we ever want to earn an award, they would say for Abigail Ward and her trans friend Michelle.
Everyone's got a token trans friend, right? Who's yours? Email us at ratingdescending@gmail.com to let us know who your token trans friend is.
Oh my God. Yeah, there were a lot of jokes in this that were just, the punchline is, what if they said what was said in Spider-Man 1, but with the addition that it implies they're attracted to men. And then the character goes, because they realize they've said the wrong thing.
It's incredible how quickly all these jokes have dated. Like, How I Met Your Mother is such a good example because it was also running around the same time this came out. It started in 2005 and ended in, 2013? And
who knows? There's no way of knowing.
It was just full of transphobic jokes, homophobic jokes about like men liking men and women liking women. Everyone was so white and straight. It just doesn't age well.
It doesn't. I don't know why people defend that show so much.
I rewatched the whole thing and I can't tell you why. I think it was honestly just because it does have this weird feel of like comfort, and there is a lot of excitement in the way they structure certain episodes and jokes. It's still a shit sitcom, and I would never ever recommend it or defend it ever in my life. But like, it just aged instantly. Like, by the time the show was over, it was already outdated.
Yeah, I say that all the time about How I Met Your Mother and Scrubs. Like, if both of them had finished around like season 4, we would remember them nicer. But they went on for so long that by the time we were in their last seasons, we're like, what? This isn't good.
And I'm so glad that like this was made in 2008.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that in 2018 this never would have been made. Like, I'm glad we've moved past that now.
I know.
Now if any movie came out making these jokes, it just would not fly. And I'm really appreciative that we actually live in a time like this.
Now it would be produced by Ben Shapiro and like circulated on his fucking website.
It'd be directed by Uwe Boll. Thank you very much.
Actually, did you hear about the whole thing with Gina Carano and Ben Shapiro?
No.
So Gina Carano, who used to play a character on The Mandalorian, big Trump supporter, huge transphobe, which consistently prompted Pedro to show how much of an ally he is to the trans community. Love Pedro Pascal.
Oh, I love him too.
She got fired after saying that being a Republican in 2021 was as hard as being Jewish in the Holocaust.
Oh my God.
Imagine Bob Iger reading that tweet.
Oh my God. It does account for the 6 million deaths of Republicans in America right now. It does.
I remember,
and all the concentration camps that we're forcing them into, all the labor camps.
I mean, America does have concentration camps, which are famously about Republicans.
To be honest, she raises some good points. I actually think that Republicans should be branded on their wrists just to identify the fact that they're Republicans.
Well, yeah.
We should also keep them in isolated camps so they can't spread. That's actually great. That's a great idea.
I do remember during the insurrection, when that Trump incited, how hard it was for Republicans because they didn't succeed. You know, I can't believe how hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she got fired, and then it was announced that Ben Shapiro's website, The Daily Wire, was going to produce a movie written by him, a failed screenwriter, and starring her, a failed actress.
Get fucked.
I'm excited though, because we might have to do a bonus episode of a new episode, a new thing on this list.
Also, I am so intrigued by the idea of bonus episodes. I think we should get on top of that. So if any of you do have recommendations for us to watch and talk about, like if there is something you want to be on the list, let us know.
Yes.
And email us at ratedstanding at gmail.com.
Was that good? Was that good for you?
That was good. Did you come?
I'm smoking a cigarette, which used to be the signal that you would come in movies.
You came, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense because a lot of men and women would both be smoking cigarettes in movies. Statistically, it doesn't match up.
It took me a moment. But
I've had enough straight sex in my life.
That's a fucking good joke. Unlike this movie.
Man, I managed to land one.
You did.
1 point Abby, 0 superhero movie. That's not true. Annoyingly, there was a couple of things in this movie that did make me laugh, and that bothered me.
There's the one that was shared a lot on Tumblr I saw, which is, I still insist, is actually kind of a funny joke.
Which is
the Hourglass and the Dragonfly are having their first proper confrontation, and they're doing the standoff quips at each other thing, and then Hourglass pulls out a ball that has knives on it, and he's like, "Ooh, titanium blades, they can cut through diamonds." And then Dragonfly responds, "I'm not wearing any diamonds."
Nice.
And then Hourglass throws them, and Dragonfly tries to dodge it, and then they all hit him. That's a funny moment. I'm like, if the movie was like this, I would like it. But it's surrounded by, what if we said a line from Spider-Man, but way hornier?
Yeah. Dead set.
Aggressively horny.
Aggressively horny.
I can feel how sweaty this movie is.
It was annoying because there was definitely a couple of visual gags and the dialogue was never funny. It was more the visual gags where I was like, oh, someone behind this, whoever is responsible for this joke does have a sense of comedic timing.
Well, yeah.
And there's a couple of things that did make me giggle a little bit. Yeah. And that frustrated me because I couldn't completely write this film off.
It felt like they wrote 500 jokes for this and then they picked the bottom 15%. I don't understand.
And to its credit, this is now a new bar for me. We're watching a lot of bad movies. So the briefer they are, the better.
Yeah.
The fact that this was just a normal 90-minute film, potentially under actually, I'll need to double check that, is such a relief. Because again, I know I bring it up a lot, but it's because I'm traumatized. Sex and the City 2 was 2.5 hours long and nothing happened. That movie changed me.
It did.
For the worse. And
you crashed into 2021.
It was a terrible start. But I am always grateful when a film actually knows its place and will stick to a 90-minute slot. That's good for me. So that's also another tick for superhero movie.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, here's the thing. It's hard for me as a fan of cinema to ever say short is... Are
you still a fan of cinema at this point? Because my allegiance is wavering.
Who knows? But when I'm reviewing a really good piece of art, it's not often that I'm and one of the positives is that it's short.
It was brief and I didn't have to sit there for too long.
It's short because it's bad. That's why it's a good thing.
That's what you say about someone's speech at a wedding. You shouldn't have to say that about a film, but here we are. I'm always hoping for the best. In terms of superhero movies in general,
yeah,
I haven't seen that many. So I don't really have a very strong opinion on superhero films. You are far better versed on superhero films and what this is parodying and what this is satirizing and all of the little characters that came up in the School of Mutants. But me, just as a general opinion on superhero films, I don't enjoy them and I'm not very well versed in them. So I feel like I was worried that a lot of references flew over my head in this.
My girlfriend Brooke absolutely loves all of the Spider-Mans, just Spider-Man in general.
She's a Spider-Man fanatic. And Spider-Man Into the Multiverse.
Yes,
really
Into
good.
the Spider-Verse, which I showed you, and you said one of the few superhero movies you've ever liked.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think that, again, I have a few opinions about the second half, but I liked it a lot overall. It was really enjoyable.
So she's watched all of them. I've watched most of the Spider-Man movies. I've mentioned before I watched all of the MCU movies to impress a girl. Would never have watched them otherwise. I used to really like the Dark Knight trilogy when I was a teenager. Now I think they're pretty good. And I know I've seen the old Tim Burton Batmans when I was younger, like when I was a kid, because I know my brother liked them. But like, I'm not an active fan of superhero movies. It's really hard to escape them. Oh, but One Division has been immaculate, genuinely really good.
One Division.
So on Disney Plus, it's the first like MCU TV show that isn't the old Netflix shows. If more of Marvel was like this, I would talk about them more positively.
Nice.
And I think you would like One Division if it didn't need some of the backstory.
I'm just confused because One Division sounds like the weird spin-off band of One Direction.
Oh. Well, no.
We are One Division.
It's not One Division. Wonder.
Girl, you're so beautiful.
WANDA.
I am hot and really
Wonder.
wealthy. Girl, you've got no chance, but I'm gonna make you depend on me. I'm a boy band. He's a boy band.
Because it's about one character called Wonder and another called Vision, but together it sounds like an old-timey TV show. Wow. Yeah, neat. Anyway, point being, this movie you really only need to watch the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and they really do some of the scenes like beat for beat. The dinner scene, for example, where they're like realizing, or more specifically, Hourglass is realizing that Rick is Dragonfly is like beat for beat.
That actually happens
identical.
In the Tobey Maguire one.
It happens, that scene.
See, I actually did watch the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films when I was growing up. I saw them in cinema, every single one of them, and I really didn't like them. Like, I just didn't enjoy them. And like, I remember I also watched the Batman trilogy by Nolan, and I really liked that as well. I actually liked that.
It is.
But apart from that, my only exposure to superhero films has basically been trying to get into the MCU.
Yeah.
And failing because I hated it.
You're not going to get any success from there.
Yeah. Fair.
But yeah, like this is really parody. Like one positive I'll say about this movie that isn't actually a positive about this movie, but more how it places, is being from 2008. It's like just pre-MCU and like DC trying to desperately make Justice League and failing every time. Like it feels like it's from a different era of superhero movies from the 80s to the mid-2000s.
Yeah.
And like they've been made completely differently after that point. It did feel tonally like those movies.
That's something.
I don't know. Like it's not, so much of it is just nothing. Like he's Dragonfly because I guess a dragonfly is a sillier animal than a spider.
But it's also like not a good enough joke to make you realize that that's a joke. When they were like, I'm Dragonfly, I was like, oh, I kind of believe it.
Well, yeah, that's
We're running thin on superhero ideas. Someone would have invented a dragonfly.
It's the better version of that joke. All I want to do in this episode is like point to other things that have done this one or two better. The Tick did exactly that gag.
The Tick is so good.
The Tick is really fucking funny with Patrick Warburton. It's parodying superhero movies. Him being a tick is actively a funny joke compared to being something like a spider.
Yeah.
And like it's fantastic. It's everything this movie wants to be, but somehow it manages to, from memory, not be homophobic, transphobic, and kind of actually land jokes. How did they do
that? That's crazy.
I don't know how they did that.
I'm sorry, but to land a joke, you've got to offend someone. That's my personal belief as a white woman. Do you want to hear some trivia?
I would love to hear some trivia.
All right. There isn't actually that much trivia, so my apologies. Here's a piece of trivia from IMDb. This film was not screened for critics.
Always my favorite. And to be fair, what critic needed to see this?
It's also the second film with Leslie Nielsen and Robert Hayes starring against each other. So Robert Hayes plays his dad in the flashback scene where he gets his parents killed. Robert Hayes was the lead of Airplane where he played Ted Stryker, which is really funny because I'm pretty sure in this his name was Blaine Riker. Because he's his dad. So it's just very similar names. But Robert Hayes is like just this, he hasn't really done that much apart from dumb comedies, but he was notable for that like starring role in Airplane, and also because he married Cherie Curry from The Runaways.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, he married the lead singer and they were very happily married for a long time. And when they divorced, they remained best friends. He's a good egg.
Yeah.
He helped her through a lot of addiction issues.
Also, we commented during the movie because we were both like, "Oh, I love Leslie Nielsen," and then we kind of had the thought of like, why? What?
I'll give you the answer. Thank you so much for asking, Michelle. Dracula Dead and Loving It, 1995, directed by Mel Brooks. Okay, it's
fair.
the only Dracula adaptation I'm interested in. Okay, Francis Ford who? I don't know. Okay, I'm all about that Mel Brooks lifestyle. Okay. Also, by the way, just on that note, 1992 Dracula can really get fucked. That was like one of the worst films I've ever seen. That was fucking awful. Winona Ryder has never been worse in any role. Keanu Reeves has never been worse, like utilized so badly.
Shattered my faith in Francis Ford Coppola.
Was it not already shattered? He did like 3 good films. Everything else sucked.
And you ignore everything in between, and then you get to Dracula and you're like, oh no.
But yeah, Leslie Nielsen is great because of the Mel Brooks 1995 Dracula Dead and Loving It, and I will not hear any arguments against this film.
My mum and I used to really love The Naked Gun, another parody movie, but that's a rough rewatch.
Yeah.
Would not recommend. If any of you watched it as a kid and thought it was funny, leave your memories unsullied.
Leslie Nielsen also has a particular memory attached for me because when I worked at JB Hi-Fi a year or two ago back in Sydney, a guy came in he came up to the desk. I was like a disgruntled DVD and music girl. I would help people find DVDs and CDs.
Oh, I remember this.
And a guy came into work and just went, "Where's your Leslie Nielsen section?" And I was like, "Our what?" Like I couldn't help myself. I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was just like, "Leslie Nielsen section." I was like, "We don't have one." And he was like, "Why not?" And I was like, "'Cause that would be ridiculous." Why would we ever sort anything by actor? And he was like, "Well, I just think that's a bit ridiculous. It's really bad service." And I was like, "We sort every movie alphabetically. If you're looking for a specific movie, I will help you find them." And he was like, "No, I just wanted to come in and look at the Leslie Nielsen section." I was like, "We don't have one." And he was like, "Well, this is ridiculous." And he walked out. And that week, I made a tiny little section at the end of the N section, the Leslie Nielsen section, and it had 3 titles, which was Airplane, The Naked Gun, and The Naked Gun 2. That was a whole Leslie Nielsen section. I've never forgotten that man or his face. He is burned into my brain.
It's not like there's a Tom Cruise section, right? Like, it's not like there's a section for the most famous actors.
He came
Why
in
would it be
looking for
Leslie
an
Nielsen?
obscure comedic actor whose career spanned the 70s till the 2010s.
Yeah.
It was insanity.
Also, again, like, coming in and saying, I know it's alphabetical, but I think by single actor is actually more efficient.
Because, there's only ever one actor in a movie.
Only ever one actor in a movie.
You've got the Cruise section, you've got the Kidman section.
Would this be in the Leslie Nielsen section or would it be in the Drake Bell section?
True. And would Airplane be in the Leslie Nielsen section or the Robert Hayes section? You know?
The only answer is we have one copy for each of the core cast. And then you filter it into each section.
That's how JB Hi-Fi orders its stock. All right.
Yeah.
So how many things was this actor in? How many actors did this movie have? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Let's go. It wasn't even like, do you have it sorted by director? He wasn't like, can I look at your David Zucker section?
Yeah.
Which is almost its own category of satire movies.
Yeah.
No, he wanted specifically the Leslie Nielsen section. That man haunts me. I still have the Leslie Nielsen section sign in my bedroom. I think about it pretty much every night before I go to bed.
Apart from the Naked Gun series, I can't think of anything he stars in.
Dracula, Dead and Loving It.
Is he the
directed by Mel
star
Brooks.
in that?
He was Dracula.
Well, yeah, but I wouldn't call Gary Oldman the star of Coppola's Dracula.
You didn't watch
Keanu
this?
Reeves.
Yeah, no, this is definitely Leslie Nielsen's show.
Okay.
Like, he runs the show in that 1995 perfect adaptation.
You showed it to me one time, and
Did you love it?
I was not into it. Not into the movie, but not into the space to watch a movie.
We'll fucking talk about this
Okay, I'm
later,
sorry.
cunt, all right?
I
'Cause that's
recommend
just
it to
fucking
others
out of
all the
order.
time.
You're gonna get a fucking fist in your face, mate. Here's my last piece of trivia.
You want to beat me up so badly.
I had a beer, all right? I've just got all this fucking testosterone throbbing
in general,
through me.
What kind of beer are you drinking?
It's called tea beer.
Because it has testosterone in it?
Correct.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I just hate being a woman because being women, it's dumb to be a woman. So that's why I have a tea beer every afternoon to really mask myself up. So then men will like me more. Do you know what I mean?
this is going to be me repeating one of my many, many jokes many times out of the many times that you've expressed not wanting to be a woman. That's an option.
I love being a woman. I love being a woman. I just sometimes want to also be a man.
That's an option.
And I don't want to be in between those two things. Non-binary doesn't appeal to me. I just want to flip-flop sometimes, you know?
An option.
And I also don't even want to be a man. I just want to be a bit more masc. I kind of want to be like a female man.
That's an option.
It already is an option. I'm living life the way I want, baby.
Anyway,
I ain't got any changes to make.
I'm drinking my cider, which is filled with fresh cum. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Here's the last piece of trivia. It earned 4 out of 4 stars from the Daily Bulletin newspaper.
What?
I tried to find this review because I wanted to know the reasons.
Yeah.
Because an actual publication gave it pretty much 100%.
Yeah.
Could not find it, could not locate it, but I really need to know what was said.
Actually, you know what that reminds me of?
What?
Is Guy Ritchie's third movie, Revolver.
I hated that movie.
It is maybe one of the worst movies. It should be on this list.
Yeah.
And it on its front poster had a 5-star review from the Herald Sun, and people were so confused as to how this could possibly get a 5-star review. So they looked it up and they found out that the marketing company for the film paid them to give a 5-star review. Like, people hated this movie so much that they went out of their way to say, no, nobody liked it.
Didn't you once tell me that there was also a movie poster that had a bunch of star reviews there? And one of the reviews was actually a 4-star review, but they made it look like a 5-star review because they had used a part of the poster to hide the fact that there was a star missing.
No, more dramatic. It was called like The Double or Legend or something. It was the one where it's Tom Hardy as twins.
Okay.
The poster was covered in 4-star reviews and 5-star reviews in, like Ebert style, like full star reviews. Yeah. But then as it narrows between them, they put The Guardian's 2-star review.
I love that.
To make it look like it was hidden behind them.
So good.
That's really funny. Whoever was in that marketing department was having a great laugh.
Cheers to that person, man. That's innovative. Here's some reviews for you. So, on Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an approval rating of 17%.
Too high.
I know. The site's critical consensus reads, superhero movie is not the worst of the spoof genre, but relies on tired gags and lame pop culture references all the same. And it's true, it's not the worst. We have more to come. This is the highest on the list.
I think Epic Movie is the lowest, and boy, does it earn it.
Yeah, I'm excited for Epic Movie because I watched it when I was a kid and I had a crush on the lead, and I'm excited to be ashamed of that when we watch it.
I've watched it maybe 30 times.
Fuck. Because of Chelsea?
No, we'll save this shameful story for later.
I'm excited. I need to know the reasoning behind this. That's fucked. Here's a review left by Tony Hawkins from Empire Magazine. This superpowered spoof just doesn't fly.
Nice.
Because he can't fly.
Yeah.
There's also a similar one left by Rob Humanick. Essentially a retread of every bad grade school joke you're happy to have forgotten.
Yeah. So that's always the thing that strikes me about it. Maybe that's why I don't like it, is I'm like, it feels like a 13-year-old boy wrote and directed this.
It's because a lot of the screenwriters that take part in this are often mentally on par with 13-year-old boys. And by the way, just while we're on that, it was written and directed by Craig Mazin. Craig Mazin. And he's... Okay, I actually had a couple things to tell you about him, by the way, just to cap this off. Mm-hmm. Should have mentioned this earlier. He's best known for creating the 5-part miniseries Chernobyl.
What?
Right?
What?
Right? This fucked me up.
What?
That's what I read last night, and I was like, I can't wait to tell you this. So other things that he's worked on is that like he wrote, like, he's more of a screenwriter than a director. He wrote Scary Movie 3 and 4 and both the Hangover sequels. He's also named as the current scriptwriter for the film adaptation of the Borderlands video game series in February 2020.
Which has Kate Blanchett and Jack Black in the cast. What the fuck is going on?
He's also going to be the co-writer and executive producer for a television series adaptation of the video game The Last of Us.
I heard about this.
Yeah, yes, funded by HBO.
And Pedro Pascal recently got cast as Joel.
Yeah, but his most notable credit is that he also did Chernobyl, which was massively, like, critically acclaimed. Yeah. It was selling off the racks at JB Hi-Fi. When I worked there, I couldn't get it on the shelf fast enough. People were just buying that shit.
Oh my God, the other teachers where I teach, they couldn't shut the fuck up about
it. I don't understand how we went from, like, Scary Movie 3 and 4, both Hangover sequels, this movie, to Chernobyl. But
you gotta get that coin, baby.
Yeah, baby. But the last little piece of trivia I read about Craig Mazin was that his freshman year roommate at Princeton was Ted Cruz.
I'm so glad he made it out alive.
He votes Democrat, I believe. He massively endorsed Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad he made it out alive.
I'm just saying, like, he was roommates with the Zodiac Killer.
I know, that's
incredible.
crazy. How did he has so much to tell.
It's his inspiration.
I have one last review for you. It was left by an IMDb user on IMDb. It is a 10 out of 10 review. The title of it is Man, full stop. And it was left by Kai Toek.
Is it a description of the demographic for this movie?
That's right. And this was left just last year. This movie da bomb. Funny when granny go fartin'. I lulled when they said goodbye at funeral.
I can't.
10 out of 10.
No.
Funeral was spelled Funorol. No, there was 3 vowels and they got 2 of them wrong.
Someone surely didn't write that in like genuinely. Come on.
Left on the 23rd of December 2020.
I want to meet someone.
This movie da bomb.
I feel like when I interact with people, I want to meet somebody.
Yeah, it'll happen.
I feel like when I interact around the world, like most of the people I know aren't the kind of people who would comment on a Facebook post or leave a review on IMDb or go onto Yelp. And like, we all check these things, but we don't actively participate in them, which is why I always have a strong belief of like, you can never trust those comments because it's a very specific type of person that leaves them.
Yeah.
But like, I just want to meet someone who leaves a lot of IMDb reviews like that or like comments on Facebook posts and be like, why? Like, what's your purpose in this?
I almost can't judge because I had a really bad habit back in 2019 of every time I'd go to a pub or a bar, I'd get really drunk and leave a very friendly review on Google.
Nice, though.
It was nice, but it was also very odd. Like, a lot of them got removed because they were very intense. Like, I remember in one of the reviews, I swore that I would uncurse someone's firstborn child because they gave me a really good pie recommendation. Like, they were a bit too much, but I do understand. I was drunk, so I think I get a free pass. But I also do understand the psychology of wanting to leave your appreciation for something, whether it be a really good pie or superhero movie 2008.
I mean, like, I used to badger people on Facebook posts like 8 years ago. And then it was, I really quickly, but not quickly enough, realized it's very unconstructive.
Yeah.
Like, you guys, whoever's listening, you gotta realize you're never gonna get anywhere talking to somebody on these platforms. They're not designed for human-to-human communication.
What's your rating of this film, Michelle?
On the one hand, if you said to me, this is one of the better movies we've watched so far, part of me would say, I guess you're right. However, I hate it, and I also think it's not a movie. It's the least like a movie of anything we've watched. It makes no effort as a movie. A lot of these are bad because the people making them are incompetent, but these people can do better, but they actively chose not to. And for that, I will give them a 1.5.
Fuck, that's low.
That is my lowest. I hated this.
That's your lowest. You hated fucking Butterfly Effect so much more than this.
Yeah, it made me more angry, but at least I was like, look, you guys are just bad at this. These people, I'm like, you can do better than this.
I would give it, because it went fast, which is a huge thing for me now, because it did have 1 or 2 jokes that I did giggle at, and because I understood the fact that they like knew what they were making this film for, I would actually give it like a 2.5 out of 10 maybe.
I can't stand parody movies.
Yeah.
Drake Bell was bad. Not quite Alexis Bledel was bad.
Oh, Sarah Paxton.
Yeah.
She is just a blonde Alexis Bledel. It's fucked.
She is. Goose from Grease 2 was maybe okay. He was the funniest of them. Yeah, Chris McDonald. He was maybe the most comedically sound.
I like him. Everything he appears in, I actually enjoy him.
This was Leslie Nielsen at his least funny. It's the Chernobyl writer at his least funny.
Yeah. It was everyone's worst.
Yeah. Everyone's worst job was this movie.
Well, what are we watching next week, Michelle? That was Superhero Movie 2008.
Next week, we are watching Soul Plane.
Cool.
I think it has Lonnie Love in it.
I don't know who that is.
She was a guest on like 3 or 4 episodes of Drag Race.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, so we're going to be watching that next week.
Nice. Sounds good. Well, next week, catch us there for Soul Plane. In the meantime, we are rating Descending. You can find me on Instagram under Abigail J. Ward and on Twitter under Rating Descending.
And if you can, don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Catch you later, dork.
Yeah, you fucking nerd.
loser.
Oh my god.
Get out of here.
What
Go
are you
home.
still doing
We're
here?
done.
We're done here.
The movie's over.
Get out.
home.
Go home.
Day, boom, boom.
Oh, yeah.